The Last Translator of Sector 7, Whispers of a Shattered War. There are wars fought for land, for resources, for ideology. And then, there are wars fought for something far stranger. Wars where the weapons aren't just steel and energy, but sound. Wars where the greatest asset isn't strength, but understanding. And for a brief, terrifying moment in galactic history, that understanding rested solely with humanity. With one man, to be exact. My name is Elias Vance. Or at least, it used to be. Now, I'm just Translator 7. And if you're hearing this, it means I failed. Or perhaps, I succeeded in a way no one ever intended. They say the universe is vast, and full of wonders. What they don't tell you is how many of those wonders are trying to tear each other apart. Before the Shatter War, humanity was a minor player, a developing species on the fringes. We had faster than light travel, sure, but no real armada, no grand empire. Our greatest asset, as it turned out, was our throats. Our bizarre, adaptable, utterly unique vocal cords. And our brains, wired to untangle the most complex linguistic puzzles. We could mimic the chirps of the lithos, a crystalline species whose every utterance resonated with the frequencies of their home world. We could glide through the sonic fields of the Etherians, gaseous beings who communicated through complex atmospheric shifts. No other species could bridge the gap. We were the universal interpreters. The cosmic diplomats. Until the war started. The lithos and the Etherians, they were ancient. So ancient that their initial dispute was lost to time, buried under millennia of escalating conflict. What began as a territorial squabble over an asteroid field had bloomed into a full-blown existential struggle, ripping across half the known galaxy. Their weapons were terrifying. The lithos fired focused seismic pulses that could crack a planet like an egg. The Etherians retaliated with gravitic distortions that could tear apart star systems. And caught in the middle, desperate to survive, were we. Humanity. Our role quickly changed. We weren't just diplomats anymore. We were instruments. Each human translator was assigned to a frontline listening post, a tiny, fragile buoy of flesh and blood in a storm of cosmic destruction. Our job, intercept communications, interpret battle plans, and relay them to whichever side was currently paying us for our services. It was dirty work, morally compromising, but it kept our worlds from becoming just another shattered relic. I was good. Too good, perhaps. I could hear the subtle shifts in a lithos crystal's song, the unspoken threat in an Etherian's atmospheric sigh. I could predict movements, anticipate attacks. I saved lives, I'm sure. But I also condemned them. Each interpretation, each translation, was a choice. A choice to funnel information to one side, knowing it would be used to annihilate the other. They assigned me to Sector 7. A graveyard. Planets here didn't just burn, they shattered. Entire worlds reduced to asteroid fields, their cores exposed, glowing like dying embers. The debris was so thick you could almost walk across it, if you didn't mind the constant threat of a rogue chunk of planetoid wiping you out. My post was on the edge of the Cashin Nebula, a swirling vortex of cosmic dust and gas that made sensor readings a nightmare. Perfect for hiding. perfect for listening. My station was small. Just me, the console, and the endless stream of static and alien voices. Days blurred into weeks. The faces of my superiors, my family, even my own reflection, began to fade. All that was real was the chatter. The alien chatter. I lived in their war, breathing their fear, their rage, their desperate cries. One cycle, a new pattern emerged. It wasn't a battle report. It was a song. From the lithos. A low, resonant hum, unlike anything I'd ever heard. It wasn't aggressive. It was mournful. A dirge. And it was directed at an Etherian outpost. Not a tactical message, but a lament. I filed the report. Unusual lithos communication, non-hostile, possibly ceremonial. My superiors dismissed it. Probably a unit malfunction. Stake to the battle channels, Vance. But it stuck with me. Then, the Etherians responded. Not with a weapon, but with a pattern of atmospheric pressure changes. A complex, rhythmic sequence. It wasn't a message I could translate word for word. It was a response to the song. A mirror. A challenge and acceptance. That's when the cracks started appearing in my carefully constructed neutrality. This wasn't just war. This was something else. Something older. I started digging. Using my authorized access, and some unauthorized backdoors I'd built, I cross-referenced everything. Ancient texts, historical logs, even archaeological digs on long-dead worlds. The official histories painted a picture of endless, senseless conflict. But I began to see threads. Patterns. Rituals. The shatterings of planets, they weren't random acts of destruction. They were always preceded by a specific exchange. The lithos would sing their dirge. The Etherians would respond with their pressure sequence. And then, a world would die. Always a world of strategic importance. Always one that had a long history of being claimed by both species. My blood ran cold. This wasn't war. It was sacrifice. I compiled my findings. It took weeks, working in secret, filtering out the constant noise of battle. I found references to the Great Cleansing, the sacred balance, the echoes of the first wound. The lithos and Etherians weren't fighting to win. They were fighting to maintain. To reset. To atone. Their war was a form of ritual purification. Every few millennia, when their long-simmering hatred reached a peak, they would pick a world, a shared prize, and they would utterly destroy it. Not to conquer it, but to release it, to release the tension, the ancient animosity, in a cathartic act of cosmic violence. It was their way of preventing something far worse, a total, species-ending annihilation that their histories warned them of. This shatter war was their desperate, horrifying peace treaty. A controlled burn. And we, humanity, the perfect translators, were their unwitting choristers. We weren't just interpreting their battle plans, we were facilitating their ritual. Every time we passed on a tactical detail, we were helping them choose the next sacrifice. Every time we warned one side of an ambush, we were ensuring the ritual continued on schedule. The realization hit me like a seismic charge. My job wasn't to stop the war. It was to ensure it continued. I tried to report it to my superiors, to the Alliance Council. This isn't just war, I pleaded. It's a ritual. They're sacrificing planets. They laughed. Or rather, their comms crackled with static that sounded suspiciously like derision. Vance, you've been alone too long. Hallucinating, perhaps get back to your post. We have a battle brewing in the Kadar expanse. I was dismissed. Ignored. A lone voice screaming into the void. How could I make them understand? How could I make them see that our very existence, our precious linguistic gift, was enabling a horror on an unimaginable scale? My mind raced. If they wouldn't listen, I had to act. But how? I was one man, marooned on a listening post, millions of light years from any real authority. The Lithos and Etherians were about to begin the pre-shattering rites for a new world, Xylos Prime, a lush, verdant planet, home to a nascent sentient species. An innocent world, about to become a sacrificial lamb. I knew their patterns. The dirge from the Lithos would begin in approximately 72 hours. The Etherian response would follow. Then, the shattering. I had to disrupt the ritual. But disrupting a cosmic ritual between two ancient, warring empires, what could one human possibly do? I thought about my unique ability. My voice. My adaptability. My curse. I was the bridge. If I could distort the bridge, maybe, just maybe, I could stop the ritual. It was insane. It was suicide. But what was the alternative? Watch another world die. I began to craft my own message. Not a translation. A manipulation. I would mimic the Lithos dirge, but I would subtly alter its frequency, its rhythm. Enough to make it recognizable, but unsettling. Wrong. A discordant note in their ancient song. And then, I would respond as the Etherians, not with their ritual pattern, but with something entirely new. A pattern of chaos. A sound of protest. It was a long shot. The equipment on my station wasn't designed for this. It was for receiving, not broadcasting at such a specific, nuanced level. I bypassed safety protocols, rerouted power, cannibalized parts. Sparks flew. Alarms blared, which I promptly ignored. I was a man possessed. The clock ticked down. 72 hours became 48. Then 24. My hands trembled as I worked, fueled by stale nutrient paste and a desperate, burning hope. I rehearsed the sounds, molding my vocal cords, forcing them to produce tones and frequencies that grated against my very bones. The Lithos dirge required a deep, crystalline resonance. The Etherian response demanded a mastery of subtle atmospheric shifts. I wasn't just translating anymore, I was becoming them. The moment arrived. I saw the Lithos signal appear on my console, faint at first, then growing stronger. The mournful hum. The ancient dirge. My heart hammered against my ribs. This was it. I opened the channel. I broadcast. My voice, distorted through the jerry-rigged equipment, screamed out into the void. It was the Lithos dirge, yes, but it was wrong. It was flat where it should have been resonant. It wavered where it should have been steady. It sounded broken. A parody. A blasphemy. Silence. Not just on the Lithos channel, but everywhere. The constant chatter of battle, the static, the distant explosions, all faded. Replaced by an eerie, profound silence. Had I broken it, had I truly managed to sever the connection, then, the Etherean response. But it wasn't their ritual pattern. It was a cacophony. A storm of incoherent atmospheric shifts, violent and meaningless. It sounded like agony. Like rage. Like confusion. And then, the counter-response. From both sides. Not directed at each other, but at me. A wave of sonic and gravitic energy that slammed into my station, shaking it apart. They knew. They heard my interference. And they were enraged. My station buckled. Lights flickered. Warnings blared in every language I knew. The console exploded in a shower of sparks, knocking me backward. I hit my head, hard. Darkness began to creep in around the edges of my vision. Through the haze, I saw the readouts. Xylos Prime. Still there. No seismic tremors. No gravitic anomalies. The planet was safe. For now. But the price, my last coherent thought, was of a distant, shimmering light. 1,000 points of light, converging on Sector 7. Not just Lithos and Etherean. Other races. Other fleets. The galaxy was stirring. They had heard my scream. And they were coming. I had stopped the ritual. But I had also exposed it. Revealed the horrible, hidden truth of their peace. And in doing so, I had probably just started a real war. A galaxy-wide war. Perhaps, in the end, that was my true purpose. To translate not their words, but their secrets. To be the harbinger of a truth so terrible, it could shatter the fragile peace of the universe. And if you're hearing this, it means the shattering has begun.